Welcome to Beyond the Red Carpet. Today we have really a fun show for you because the popular drama Murdoch Mysteries. We've got some of their actors to discuss the show, and you know the show started in 2008. It airs on Ovation, which is in Laguna Woods Village. It's on channel 119 and 619. If you don't have the Village television, you can still go online. You can get it on Facebook, or you can also call your television provider because they often take requests, and Ovation is a wonderful channel. You can also see some of the repeats on Acorn TV, which is a streaming service. So if you have Acorn, you can catch up with all the doings of all the wonderful characters on Murdoch Mysteries. And believe me, this is a show that is addicting. It is. My entire family loves to watch it. We look forward to evenings when we can binge 1 or 2 episodes. The characters are endearing, and it's something that I know you're going to be interested in once you started. So let's start with some of the actors, and I'll be back with you in a few minutes. Right now, I'd like to welcome Helene Joy. Am I saying your name right, Helene?
Yes, you're saying it like I say it. I say it with an Australian accent. I say Helene. If we were French, we would say Hélène.
Yes. Okay, see. So now I'm welcoming Helene Joy from the very popular, uber popular Murdoch Mysteries. And yeah, you are in your wardrobe. You are filming your 14th season.
Yes, we're just about to finish.
Really?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, wrapping.
You're going fast because each episode seems like a mini movie. So how long does it take you to film an episode?
It's about a 7-day turnaround. 7 days of shooting per episode.
Well, that's pretty quick.
Very fast here. Very fast.
Now I know your wardrobe. What year are you up to now in chronological order?
1908.
1908.
Yes.
Oh.
Yes. I believe yes, 1908.
Corsets, and you're still in all that poopy garb. Do you think that you might get up to the 20s where you can be a flapper?
Honestly, I would be so old I don't want to do it. I sometimes think we should, I try to pitch, that we do that skipping that some shows have done where they just skip a generation and it's us in their 20s. That would be awesome. But no, I mean, I've complained over the years, there are sexier time zones to have costuming from. It would be great to be able to not have corsets and have lots of sexy, young, flimsy looking things. But no, here we are in conservative dress of Victorian times. It is what it is. I've gotten used to it.
You are in Victorian times and you are married to William Murdoch, but you still keep your maiden name, Julia Ogden. Was that something common back then, or is that just liberty taken by the screenwriters?
I think it's something that could have been done, but it just wasn't. Just was not done. So what we find is a lot of things that they do were not done at that time. But
you have to add your own stuff to make it more appealing, but still.
Absolutely. But if you dig into history far enough, you will see that there were women who were breaking all of those rules from the beginning of time. It's just that those women weren't the ones that we documented, or even the women that were, much more known, were not very well documented. Women, just their histories have not been well documented throughout time. And so, but when you do dig, you find that these women, there were women who just ignored all of the rules of society and still managed to get through. They often came from some money, some privilege. It's helpful. But they did exist, and they became doctors well before it was acceptable, and, did a lot of things that people didn't.
A lot of rules. Well, as a person from today, your character is really into suffragette movements. And are you personally into those kind of political events or injustices that you feel are going on? Do you speak up
Yeah, I do. And I think that, people have often asked me over the years, how do you see yourself similar or different from your character?
Mhm.
And in actual fact, what happens with writers over time is they write to the way you are in your character. And I'm a feisty one. That's just who I am. I don't like to see injustice of any kind or inequality of any kind. And I have very little tolerance for that. And I just don't subscribe to a lot of the rules, the rules, even though they're not strictly enforced in society now, but they still exist. And I'm not into it.
Screen and off screen, because you are you're a role model for women. It's
Right.
definitely, Dr. Ogden is a role model. And
Yeah.
The dialogue is so different than the way we speak today. And I'm going to ask this of your co-stars. Do you ever find that when you're offset, you speak in Julia Ogden way, or a sentence that you would not normally say, but you had said back then?
I think it probably has affected me in that way. I've always said about Julia that she's far more charming than I am. She's far more gracious than I am, graceful than I am, because I'm an Australian. I frankly have a potty mouth, but I do find myself, and I think it's also being Australian and coming from that sort of British background. I'm one to use whilst, and I'm one to use those terms. I have been caught by friends going, the way you speak, but sometimes I'll be a bit Julia-esque in the way I speak, for sure.
I find myself talking like you guys. I really, your show is something that unusual. My entire family gets into, and it's really great. And I was telling the publicist one time, I was at the grocery store, and all of a sudden I just said, "Oh, bloody hell." Where did that come from? That came from Murdoch Mysteries. So
I say, "Oh my," every now and then. Oh my, like and that's just not something that I would normally say. But yeah.
So how many weeks do you film a season?
Generally, it spans over. It's funny, I don't think in terms of weeks, but 6 months.
6 months.
Shoot an 18 episode. And this year is a slightly shorter season. So it's been about 3.5 months.
Okay, now on your off season, I just did some research on you. You have a movie coming up. Is that a TV movie, Woman in Car, or is that a feature film?
It's a feature film. It's still in post-production, and it's just been accepted actually into the International Women's Festival in Sydney, Australia. So that's where it's premiering in 28th of November. I just haven't announced that yet because there's been enough going on in the world, really, and I just wanted to get through the end of the season. But yeah, that movie is coming out there, and then hopefully it will find some kind of venue or opening here in North America somewhere. Yeah, so it's a feature I shot in Montreal that I also produced at the beginning of last year.
Can you give us just a brief synopsis of what that is?
It's a very, very, very different role. It's a psychological drama, if you will. A woman who finds herself sort of trapped in a life of privilege, whereby, if you will, that a lot of lies, or the things that have propped her up in her life are just sort of dissolving. A set of circumstances finds her in a situation where she's her life as she knows it is dissolving, and so it's kind of it's a very sort of psychological and emotional journey, and by the end she ends up living in her car just for a certain amount of time. And
okay, well, we will look forward to that.
Yeah.
Yes, and I know they're not giving me much time with you, although I would love to speak with you for hours. I know women across the whole world are wondering what it's like to kiss Yannick.
Sorry, I found that funny. Well, imagine kissing any stranger that you're not all that attracted to.
How can you not be attracted to him?
Yannick and I are like business partners. We've just been doing this for so long. It's just not a thing. You know, but it's very different being an actor. You know what I mean? Like this is just the job.
Right. I understand. That's the way it is.
But I love it that the fans, you know, they can't divorce themselves from the idea. That's sort of fabulous. It means
And when you go, excuse me, I'm sorry, but when you go out on the street, do people call you Julia often?
Rarely. I'm not recognizable in my normal life. You know, there's some beauty in that. If you take away hair and makeup and curls and hats and all this kind of high necks and things, and I dress in my jean shorts and get around in a t-shirt, people just don't put two and two together. Occasionally, if I'm speaking to someone, you know, at the DMV or something, you know, straight with my voice for some time, something happens and they're suddenly like, oh my God, like they just put two and two together. Like, why do I know this person? But most of the time I just get a lot of stares from people who are trying to place where the hell they know me from. Yeah. They're like, I know this person really well. They're probably even binge watching, but I have no idea where from because it just doesn't compute in their minds. I look very, very different in real life.
Yes, well, I've seen you on a different thing, and you look different, but actually you kind of had the best of both worlds because you have a great hit TV show and you're not bombarded like those the kids from Friends and all that who couldn't have a normal life. So you have a normal life.
I'm very attached to my normal life, so I'm very grateful about that. Yeah.
Yes. I have a feeling that they are going to be pulling you off in a second. So just wanted to thank you very much and look forward to season 14.
Yes, enjoy. It's a fun one.
Any little tidbits you can tell us coming up, or is it all hush hush?
It's all hush hush, but you know, it's all very, very sweet between Murdoch and Julia all the way through the year, and then a massive bomb hits at the end, which may upset some people, but it could be one of the best things that could ever happen, and that's all I can tell you.
Well, I'm looking forward to season 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. This could go on forever because it is so compelling. And like I say, everybody in my family just absolutely is entranced by it. So I appreciate you taking the time from set and all dressed up in your Julia Ogden attire.
Pleasure.
And we will see you on the telly.
Yeah, see you there. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, bye.
Bye-bye.
Yep. Little fairies.
Thank you.
Yep. Now I'd like to welcome Yannick Bisson. Am I pronouncing it correctly?
Oh yeah, very good. Yannick Bisson, but that's how my mom would say it. So
French Canadian.
That's perfectly good.
You are William Murdoch. And before we start, let me say my entire family is enamored with the show. We all watch it. Everybody is just loving it. I love the fact that now you're an executive producer, so you have some say in this. The fact that you bring in so much historical accounts of things and people really adds to the characters' storylines. Do you have any say in who comes, or who have you had so far? I mean, there are a lot of them. Henry Ford. Who else can you name? Tesla?
Yeah, Nikola Tesla. There's tons of people, fictional and real. Alexander Graham Bell. That part's easy. Those people existed, and sort of weaving them into our show is a lot of fun. Doing it well and keeping it within the world that we've created is really the tough part, and our writers do an incredible job. We've got a playbook here that just has more and more pages every year. So, we're probably never going to run out of ideas. We'll maybe run out of time and money, but not ideas.
Well, from all of us here, we hope that you continue for many more years.
Oh,
but the dialogue, you're back in the early 1900s. Your dialogue is more formal. What have you, George, instead of what do you have, George? You find yourself off camera in your normal life, just reverting back to that kind of dialogue?
Well, if I'm perfectly honest, as we start gearing up for each season, my wife will notice and point out when I start to say Toronto. And she says, oh boy, here he goes. He's getting ready for Murdoch again, because we all would just say Toronto, LA, whatever, New York. But we say New York, Toronto, Los Angeles. So.
Yeah, the dialogue, that's the one thing you can tell. It's more formal. Everything is more formal. The way you speak with each other, your phrases, that you don't use a lot of contractions. It's just
yeah, exactly. I'm actually the contraction police on set. The buck stops with me on that stuff for that exact reason. I think, it was an era where people really put on a good show, really, really made an effort to be better than themselves, better than their circumstances. And the sort of Victorian era as a whole represented a lot of change in terms of mannerisms, etiquette, dress, and social standing and interaction and propriety and all those different things. So it was distinctly different than now. So we do have to be careful, and it's easy to sort of slip into it, and we're running along doing our thing. And even the writers, sometimes they'll write certain things, and by the time it gets to the floor to me, I've been speaking this way for 14 seasons. I'm gonna need to change that. And they understand, and everyone's cool with it. It's not like I'm making things less Murdoch.
Well, speaking of your attire, are you more comfortable in your dress suit that Murdoch wears, or in jeans and a t-shirt?
I am a jeans and t-shirt guy. I don't shave. I don't do my hair. I do wear deodorant, but those are the differences.
Okay, well, we thank you for that. Your character has gone on location several places, the Yukon. Tell me how that works. You don't take your whole staff, but have you enjoyed going out of set and exploring different parts of the world as Murdoch?
Absolutely. Different parts of our own country. We have, probably the second geographically sized country in the world. And it's great to be able to visit parts of it, especially parts where you wouldn't necessarily go as a tourist or something like that. We don't typically take our entire team. We will take key people. And that's part of the fun, is to meet other industry professionals in different parts of the world or the country, and seeing how they do things, and what equipment they use, and how they get to, the point that they're ready to sort of record something is very different. Their process is different and equally good. So, you make lasting friends and relationships. We shot in Bristol, England one time, and I ended up meeting a chap who was a lawyer there, and we've stayed in contact ever since. We shot in, like you said, the Yukon, and that was an incredible place. At the time, I was doing ads for a bank, a national bank, and we found the very first bank that was ever posted there during the gold rush at the turn of the century. And it was this shack that had been preserved and moved. And so I called the head office of the bank and said, hey, you guys are never going to believe this. This bank is still sitting here. So lots of interesting things that you see.
Okay, now you have also done American TV, and specifically Aurora Tea Garden. Our viewers are really into Hallmark Channel, and you are part of the Aurora Tea Garden with Candace Cameron Bure.
That's right.
So do you have any more of those coming up, or are you basically out of it for right now?
I'm not involved at the moment. No, we ran into scheduling problems, and they shoot at the opposite end of the country, and the timing when they shoot, it just became very difficult. So, yeah.
Well, you mentioned your wife earlier. She's an actress, and she has come on to Murdoch. How many times has she been on? Just once?
Oh, twice. Twice. That's right.
Do you find that?
We've been on long enough that she could be on twice, and it might go unnoticed. Probably not. She's a stunning gal, but it's we get away with things sometimes.
Is it more frustrating? I've always wondered when spouses work together, are they more nervous about being on set with your spouse? You want to make sure everything's right with them, or are you just more comfortable because, you know, you do know each other so well?
I think every time has been different. We've worked on other projects together, independent films. We've worked on other series together. She is doing a lot less of that now. She's a writer. So she's focused on, she wrote her first book. It's called Raising Your Kids Without Losing Your Cool. It's fascinating. Some of your readers may want to look that one up. Her name is Chantal.
Sure.
And, it's a fantastic book, getting rave reviews and selling out all over the place. But I could definitely say that there were times where there was an ease because we know each other and I can just say, hey, this, that, and the other thing. And she can say something back to me and we'll adjust each other's sort of performance together. And there's a shorthand there and familiarity. But then there are other times where it's like, why don't you let the director tell me what to do? And I said, okay, I'm just going to back away here very slowly and carefully.
You have 3 daughters. And
That's
they have appeared on the show. So basically, this has become a family affair. Murdoch Mysteries is a family affair for the Bisson family.
That's right. Dominique appeared as a victim, unfortunately, and that was a bit of a wake-up call for me because we were going along and filming, and all of a sudden she's there on a slab, and she's been very much done badly too, because it was a Jack the Ripper type of episode. And I all of a sudden had to check myself, and I felt very uncomfortable seeing my daughter dead in front of me. So that was an odd thing. So we thought long and hard about future possibilities like that. And I encouraged the girls to set out on their own and audition on their own, and we not sort of be associated for their own good. And both of the girls, the eldest and the youngest, actually went on to audition for parts that I think they did brilliantly at. Brianna, the eldest, played George Crabtree's cousin, and she was quite funny. Her cousin, his cousin Penny. And then Michaela appeared in the Murdoch Appreciation Society episode. She played a fan of Murdoch, and boy, did she let me have it. She poked me and ribbed me and made fun of me every step of the way, but she was fantastic. So it's been a lot of fun. I have a couple of dogs. We needed dogs in certain episodes. A couple of my dogs have appeared on the show too, specifically Duke, who's an English bulldog, played Winston Churchill's.
I remember that.
He encountered, so that was fun.
So he was your dog. So besides the dog, put the dog aside, do the girls have ambitions to follow in you and their mother and father's footsteps and go into the business themselves?
I would say my youngest, Michaela, she's probably the most talented in the family when it comes to being a performer for the screen and the stage. She's uniquely good, and she's actually pursuing it. The other 2 girls have gone on to other things. Brianna is a professional makeup artist. She's also a teacher. And Dominique is actually in marketing and merchandising in the fashion industry. So completely different, also artistic careers.
When you go out on the street, do people call you Murdoch or William or detective? Do they come up to you as your character?
Well,
I'm lucky enough just to be incognito when you're away.
Yeah, it's funny. Context is everything. So this is a pretty unique sort of look. I think out of suit and out of hair and makeup, not as much, although it does, I wouldn't know. My wife says I don't notice most of the time, as she does. Yeah, for sure, daily, and now it's starting to happen in other countries and things like that. But I did have a really unique experience last night. We were walking our dog in the dark, And this woman came driving up half on the sidewalk and half onto somebody's lawn. And she had a trailer on the back, and she finally put it into park. And we were, worried she was going to hit something. And she said, "Can you help me? This trailer has been locked to the back of my hitch by my handyman, and he left the key up where I live, and now I'm here in downtown Toronto, and I can't get this trailer off, and I'm having difficulty parking it. Can you help me to park it or cut this lock off or something?" Oh my God, detective. It was literally like that. It was quite funny.
Yeah.
I ran back to my house, got some bolt cutters, and I went running back to where her car is, which is by her sister's home. And her sister was there, and then her friend had come over. And so I'm, cutting this lock with an audience. So that's my celebrity story.
Okay, so you do.
Hey, Francine, sorry to cut you off, but I just got a text that we got to wrap it up. So you might have to just go do an exit.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for joining us, and we were looking forward to season 14, and we will see you on the telly.
Thanks so much, Francine.
Now I have the privilege to bring you Daniel Mislani, who is one of the newest cast members. Welcome, Daniel. You play Detective Llewellyn Watts, but you're not in Murdoch's station house. You're in a different station house.
Yeah, I started out from Station House 1, and it's kind of vague whether I actually work at Station House 4 now, but I've been around this is my 5th year, so been in and out, and I think it's semi-official that I work there now.
Well, how is it, this is a very established cast, a very established and high-rated show. How is it coming into something like that everybody knows each other and knows how they work? Is that difficult, or did they just make it so easy for you, just seamless to enter the cast?
It was a very welcoming crew and cast for sure. Welcoming team, definitely. The advantage that I had is that in my episode, I'm really supposed to play against the energy of Murdoch and against everyone in a way. So I didn't have to worry about matching tone or anything, because the game was I have to be the foil to him the whole time. And as the seasons have gone on, now Watts is being integrated into the station house a little bit more. So it's less conflict all the time, but definitely butting heads helped it feel a bit awkward at first.
Well, Murdoch's approach is more analytical, and you're more philosophical.
Yeah.
So that really, the dichotomy between the two detectives is really adds a lot to the show after all those years. After 10 years, you bring in somebody like your character, which is he's not really autistic, or I've been reading about him. He's kind of borderline. How would you describe him?
Yeah, I've heard that. I've heard autism mentioned from certain people. It's certainly not anything I'm playing. I've played characters who are on the spectrum before, and I would like to do research, and I'd like that to be a choice from the writers. So it's definitely not the approach I've taken, and I want that to be an authentic representation. But the character was written to be Columbo-esque, which I didn't really know much about the show, so I watched a couple clips of Columbo and drew on a few things from that. But certainly, if you watch my first episode to now, like, the character's changed a lot, which I'm a little bit embarrassed about, but also it's like, you spend time in his skin and it starts to take on different forms.
So my thanks again to Helene Joy and Yannick Bisson for joining us from Toronto from the set of Murdoch Mysteries. And I will see you next time beyond the red carpet.
To see the full interview with Daniel Mislani and more, visit Village Television on YouTube.